Well, another one of his big weapons, you mentioned Travis Kelce. I don't know how much we have to talk about him just because
he's so good.
he's so damn good. Oh my goodness. Literally been the number one tight end in fantasy 5 straight seasons. Set a career high in catches last year, 105, 1,416 yards was a career high, as well as his touchdowns, 11 there in 2020. So it seems like he's only getting better. Is there any reason to expect anything besides dominance? Is there any way he does anything more than he's already done? What do you think of this guy?
He's excellent. It was at the middle of last season where I just started saying in my articles on Twitter, it was like Travis Kelce, comma, future Hall of Famer. Like, we don't need to discuss it anymore. The guy's going into the Hall of Fame. His longevity is pretty close to either Rob Gronkowski or Tony Gonzalez, the comparable of how you want to look at it from a statistical standpoint. Like, he's reaching that point where he's one of the most reliable, consistent, top-end performers in the course of the entire league. I love Darren Waller. He's coming aboard this set of stars in the league. Obviously, he's in the AFC West with the Las Vegas Raiders. I still think George Kittle is excellent. We hope he'll stay healthy this year. But Travis Kelce really hasn't missed time since his rookie season. And that's one of the more underrated aspects of Kelce, is that he really doesn't get hurt. He takes care of his body very well. He knows kind of how to fall the right way when guys tackle him in the middle of the field, because he's taking on so many targets in that area. Another stat that maybe the common fan doesn't realize, Mahomes made his debut in week 17 of 2017. The Chiefs had already locked up their playoff seeding at that standpoint because of Alex Smith's excellent run in that season. Since then, since Patrick Mahomes has been the clear starter, he's never played a game without Travis Kelce. Wow. So whenever you've seen Patrick Mahomes on the field, you've seen Travis Kelce since the start of 2018. And the matchup has been, honestly, it couldn't be better for Andy Reid to know that, hey, it's 3rd and 7. We already, no matter where we line up, we have an advantage because the quarterback knows how to get the ball to one of the game's best tight ends. And even if the play doesn't go well, they have enough chemistry to work within improvising or within the structure of the play. And he's looked excellent in training camp. He's actually taking less reps because I think he's reached that senior status of like, hey, you're 31. We know you're great. We got to get some of these other tight ends to get a look at, because I think Andy Reid wants to get to more 2 tight end sets, which obviously could help Travis Kelce's production, right? If you have more linebackers on the field because you have an extra tight end, that gives him some advantage as long as Mahomes can use it off of play action, or maybe that second tight end like Kelce spread out more in a receiving spot versus like being on the traditional tight end line. The last thing I'll mention here too is I took Travis Kelce as my first player in my fantasy draft last year. So I've been in this fantasy league with me and my buddy since college. We're going all the way back to like 2007. I can't remember exactly what pick I had. It wasn't first, second, or third. I think it was in the middle of the draft. And it's just nice to be like, well, I see him every day. I know how good he is. I'll just take Travis Kelce first. And I know that's untraditional from a, hey, what are you doing with your first round pick in fantasy? Shouldn't it be a surefire, dual threat running back? Or should it be, somebody like Drew Brees or Peyton Manning or obviously Tom Brady, who is going to play every game, is going to have a high completion percentage, isn't going to turn the ball over much. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is excellent as well, as long as Mahomes. But once those players came off the board, it was like, I could pick a running back, or I could just pick a guy that I know is going to get 1,000 yards, going to score a lot of touchdowns, going to get a lot of targets, going to convert a lot of third downs based on whatever league you are from a fantasy standpoint. And it's just going to be the best tight end in the league. And we could say all those things this year, Nick. I don't know how long Travis Kelce's prime is, but it's at least for another year or two, as long as he stays healthy. So I don't see much changing other than maybe the formations are a little bit different so that you get the ball to Kelce in some different spots this year, because the offense is, it always sort of evolves to where, it would be interesting if Andy Reid goes from spreading the formations out with 4 wide receivers to now, hey, let's go back into that traditional 2 tight end set, and Kelce's still running these out and ups where you're like, you're not supposed to be running that route from the middle of the field based on that formation, based on the looks you gave us earlier. So I have full trust in Travis Kelce if I'm a fantasy owner. And you should take him earlier than expected, just because of all the things I've listed. As long as Mahomes is on the field and Kelce's on the field, you're going to be earning points no matter what week it is in the NFL schedule.
I'm in 100% agreement. I wish I had realized that last year, how good and consistent and steady he was, because you listen to all those quarterbacks and they're all good, but there's so few tight ends other than maybe Waller and Kittle, and they're still like a clear step below Kelce in terms of production. That is just such a crazy edge in fantasy, because tight end, most of the time, you're just throwing together as much against the wall, see what sticks. Maybe I get a tight end this week, touchdown from them. But when you have that steady dominance, I was even advocating as early as first overall, you could take Travis Kelce, given how big of an edge and how there's literally no question marks in terms of the durability. Obviously injuries could happen at any point, but still, that would be the anomaly. As you said, 16 straight games. If him and Pat Mahomes are on the same field, you're going to get 1,300 plus. You're going to get 10 plus TDs at the hardest position to find that production. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion. I'm 100% with you. I think it was a great pick to take him in round one.
Thank you. I made the playoffs. We didn't end well, but we made the playoffs, and it's just always fun because guys in our draft were like, really? And I was just like, well, I mean, I literally see them every day. I have some insight, I have some advantage on my perspective, but I felt good about it. It was like, hey, Travis Kelce, Christian McCaffrey, and it sucked last year that McCaffrey got hurt, but it's like they are comparable players based on talent, the amount of touches, the amount of times they may get in the end zone, and that's, again, is crazy to think about, which also tells you how much of a Hall of Famer Travis Kelce is, where it's like, you can look at the playoff performance. He's been excellent in the playoffs. You can look at, again, the consistency, the longevity of his prime, but also there's like, we're going to get to points in these Hall of Fame discussions where it's like, is a guy a first ballot or is he a third ballot? Well, how much did you trust him on third down and how much did you trust him in fantasy? Because if those two things line up, I don't see how you couldn't put him in, Canton when his first go round is. And it's crazy to say that, Saquon Barkley or Travis Kelce. I kind of want to pick Travis Kelce because it's a passing league and the guy's been so good for so long.
Absolutely, yeah. And Saquon comes with those question marks, whereas Kelce, there's no question at all. Again, at the hardest position. So I'm with you. I have Kelce higher than Saquon. I think I have him at 4 or 5 overall right now. I have the 7th pick in my draft coming up this year, and I'm praying Kelce falls to me. I would love to go him there, for sure. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.